Hello, this is Jordan with Andalusia Knits, and I've got another tutorial for you today. Today I'm going to show you a right-leaning decrease alternative to knit two together. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably asking yourself, why in the world would you ever need an alternative to knit two together out of all of the decreases? It's easily the least problematic and the easiest to do, and I agree with you, but in my own personal knitting, I actually found a very specific case where I really did not want to do knit two together, and this technique I learned really helped me out. I use it all the time in my sock knitting, so I'm going to show it to you today. And first we're going to take a look at how to do the technique, and then I'm going to show you some finished examples and swatches in real life knitting where I use the technique. And then finally we will talk about these specific cases where you might consider this alternative to knit two together. So let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at how to do this alternative right-leaning decrease. So normally with a knit two together, you would take your needle and stick it through two stitches at once and knit them as if they were one stitch. But that is not what we're going to do for this decrease. Instead, the first stitch of the decrease, we are going to knit it just like normal. This is just a plain old stitch. And it is on the right needle now, and we're going to take it and slip it purlwise back to the left needle, just like so. Okay, and now we're going to take our right needle again, and we're going to hook the second stitch on the left needle, and we're going to pick it up and pass it over the first stitch like that, and let it fall off the needle. And we've completed the decrease at this point, and all that's left to do is slip this stitch purlwise back over to the right needle and give it a little tug to tighten it up, and that is the alternative right-leaning decrease. And so let's knit a couple stitches, and I'll do it once more to show you how it's done. Okay, so once again, the first stitch of the decrease, we are going to knit it just like normal. It's a plain old stitch. It's on the right needle now, and we're going to slip it back to the left needle purlwise. And now we're going to take the second stitch on the left needle, and we're going to hook it with your right needle, and we're going to pass it over this first stitch and off the needle and just let it drop. And the decrease is complete at this point, and once again, just slide this first stitch back to the right needle and give it a tug to tighten it back up. And that is how you do the alternative right-leaning decrease. And if you're familiar with the left-leaning PSSO decrease, this will seem pretty familiar to you. And in fact, I've kind of been calling it the right-leaning PSSO because it's so similar to the traditional left-leaning technique. So now that we have taken a look at how to do this alternative right-leaning decrease, I wanted to take a moment to look at this swatch where I've knitted up so you can see how it looks in practice. And this swatch has corresponding decreases you can see on both sides here. And on the right side here, we have the left-leaning traditional PSSO, and on this side, we have the alternative right-leaning decrease that we just learned. And for reference, I also have a swatch here that uses a decrease line of knit two togethers as opposed to the alternative right-leaning decrease. And as you can see on the knit two togethers, that line is perhaps a little bit nicer and neater than the alternative right-leaning decrease, but not so much so that it would discourage me from using the alternative one as well. So we've taken a look at how to do this right-leaning decrease, and we've taken a look at some swatches to see what it looks like in practice. And now I wanted to take a minute to discuss why you might want to consider using this reverse PSSO as an alternative to knit two together. And the reason that I came to it myself was because of sock knitting. And normally when I knit socks, I'm not using yarn that is specifically meant for socks, so it doesn't typically have any sort of nylon content in it. And because of that, the only way I can create any sort of durability in my socks that I knit is to knit them at a very dense, tight gauge. And that usually means knitting sport weight yarn on size 0 needles. And at that just tiny gauge, it is so annoying and downright painful to try to stick my needle through two stitches at once. for any, consistent basis for any amount of time. And so I really was hoping I needed something to make the sock knitting process less painful. And this PSSO is the perfect way to do that because, like I said, you never have to stick your needle through 2 stitches at once. And so before we go, I wanted to show you an example on my socks that I've knit of what these right leaning decreases look like. And like I said in the swatch section, like it might be a little bit wonkier and messier looking than knit two together, but for my own personal preferences, I think this is perfectly fine in terms of a decrease line. I think that looks pretty nice. If you can kind of see that edge right there, that's the right leading decrease. And I think that's going to do it for today. So thanks for watching. I hope you give it a try, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.